people start really tripping this week, because the main thing I wanted to talk about is there's decisions that folks have to make on Monday, and these decisions will impact whether they stay employed as federal workers or whether they just basically resign, or if they want to retire for that matter. So these decisions for some people have to be made by close of business 14 April 2025. I think that's Tuesday, but for some reason I keep thinking it's Monday, but maybe it is Monday. I don't know, but anyway, that's when the decision has to be made, right? So you have like 1 day to make the decision. But if you've already made the decision, I was hoping you can share with somebody, anybody, what decision you made, what came about you making that decision. If this is something that you probably were thinking, you know what, I better make this decision right now because I may not have time to make it the correct way. Because you know how the weekend rolls by and people hear all this chatter, and sometimes they don't understand exactly if they should keep doing what they're doing or if it's something else that's different. So that's why I'm like, you know what, sometimes you just have to kind of make the right decision for yourself and then think about it later, right? So if you have an opportunity, if you come to this live too, do me a quick favor, tap the screen, okay, give me a thumbs up, and then just let us know exactly what it is that you're doing. And if you've made your decision, appreciate you. Welcome. So I wanted to just take some time and reflect on how this decision came about. So if you guys remember, on and about, I think it was like 2 February 2025, there was an email that a bunch of federal workers got, and this email was called the fork in the road. It gave them the opportunity to resign their position and stay with getting paychecks up to the end of the fiscal year. But at the time this fork in the road email was circulated among federal workers, and people was like, well, they didn't trust it at first because it came from an external entity called OPM, and OPM previous to that had never communicated with federal workers directly. They normally communicate with federal workers through the agencies, right? So it made some of the federal workers a little bit nervous. They thought the email, according to most people, they thought it was spam, and because they thought it was spam, they didn't, in their mind, they had no way to kind of respond to it, and they did not want to respond to it. And you know what that also did? It pissed off those leaders. The leaders was like, who gave you the authority to speak to my folks without even going through me? Because, you know, in the federal service, they have a thing called chain of command, right? Which they kind of got that from the military. So they're like, you're not even following the chain of command, and you're reaching directly to my folks and talking to them. That's not the way to do stuff. So, but anyway, so people challenge that stuff. You know, they have federal workers have like unions, just like everybody else. The unions took the stuff to court and said this was not legal. You can't just basically terminate people and think they're just gonna be there and do stuff the way you want them to do. So, to cut a long story short, when this stuff went to the court, it was found to be not not illegal, which then meant that it was legal. Patty Smith, what's going on? Hello, how are you doing? Appreciate you joining the live. So just giving the historical perspective of this fork in the road email, this breaking news right now that's happening where federal workers have to make a life-changing decision. They have to make it this coming week. And, you know, so the fork in the road email 1.0 is the one that I talked about. I think they had a goal of 50%. They didn't meet that goal, and some of the agencies basically were making things hard for people that really wanted to take that fork in the road. They were telling them that you weren't authorized to do it, you want to do this, da 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 da. So that made them think, okay, well, we need to probably do this again. But if we're gonna do it, we're gonna make the agencies do it, right? Because the first time we were trying to do it, they were complaining and talking about they weren't supposed to do this, they weren't supposed to do that. So now, well, if the agencies have to make the decision, what that means then is the agencies have to manage the whole process from end to end. So that's what's happening right now with the fork in the road 2.0. So the agencies are managing that process end to end, but with the management of the process, it's making some people feel a certain type of way, like the agencies are still operating as though they were OPM, and that made it worse for some people because they couldn't make decisions. They couldn't make decisions because they were still thinking there was no funding available for this particular 2.0, DRP 2.0. And so now you got people caught between a rock and a hard place because some of these people don't follow the news and they don't know how appropriations work. You know, they don't know how budgets get passed. So now they're thinking, well, there's no money, and I don't know exactly what I got to do if there's no money. Well, there's no money, but you got to know what you need to do. If there's no money, you got to know how to act quick. And don't stand in a corner, be in the silence, and then you leave a lot of money on the table. And that's what I think some of these people are doing. They're going to leave a lot of money on the table as they prepare for the DRP to end, because remember, this is going to end. It's going to end this coming week, and when it ends, you cannot blame anybody for yourself, but yourself for not taking advantage of this opportunity, right? So that's what I was saying. People need to kind of think really, really hard and deep about the decision they're going to make next week, because these decisions are going to help them in a way. Because let me tell you, if the reduction in forces were to be in place, you're not going to have any recourse. There's nothing you can do for yourself to help you in that process. And that's why I'm thinking now is probably a good time to start thinking about what you want to do. So I'm thinking about what you want to do, because ultimately that's what's going to help you, like, get another career. I think what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to see exactly why did people make the decision to do it, or decision not to do it. And if you made the right decision, what were the impetus for your decision? So that's what I'm trying to work on right now. So if you made a decision in your federal space and you think that was a good decision, drop a note right here. Can you buy me a car? I sure can. I can teach you how to buy a car if that's what you're looking for. If you're interested in learning how to buy a car, I can teach you how to do that and how to do that correctly, and where you can then have a sustainable business that buys you the car, and you can able to do that. If you're interested, I left a bunch of books right there. Check out the books. Check out the one about the ensuing recession, which means the recession is coming. Well, what are you supposed to be doing during a recession? That's the one I recommend for you. Check that one out. Okay, but if there's other things that you're thinking about doing, like buy a car or start a business, let me tell you something. The businesses are going to be exactly what it is if you are well versed in figuring out how to do business. I don't need to digress, but this is some kind of thing. You just kind of make me refocus on what I was trying to do. So some of these people right here that you see that are sitting around and acting like they really care about you, they don't care about you. In case you don't know, I wanted you to know that, because some people just sit around and they say, "Oh, do this and do this and do that," but what you do is as important as the people that are telling you what to do, right? Okay, you should focus on driving. I am focusing on driving, but you see my head is straight, but every so often I will look down there to see who's watching, right? So do me a favor, tap the screen, tap the like button, since you're concerned about me, so I don't look at this stuff, okay? Tap the like button real quick. Do that for me real quick. Do the. I'm getting ready to make a corner. I want to focus while I'm making this corner. All right. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because I'm going to come back again and look at some of your comments, okay? All right, guys. Appreciate you joining me and analyzing this stuff that I'm talking about. Take care.